that reel started going crazy, and we were getting a sale every 10 seconds. We had a $43,000 day. Everyone's looking for businesses that will just stand up, just say, this is bullshit. We're not doing this. And too many people are afraid to, and even the big businesses are too afraid. And I think the second that we let fear become our guiding light is the second we let freedom, democracy fall.
Hi, it's Elena.
And Chris.
From Citizen Rebel, the podcast for founders, small business owners, and bold influencers who refuse to stay silent.
And those of us who want to do the same. Today, we're going to get real with Trevor. He's the co-founder of My Cluck Hut, an eco-friendly bath and body company based in Nashville. Trevor Silva, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet y'all. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, how you doing today?
Awesome. Every day's a great day when you're running a small business opposing fascism, right?
Right, that's right. So,
let's go.
Yeah, like in early March, was it early March when you and your wife, Jennifer, co-owner of My Cluck Hut, you decided to post about MAGA? It was early March, right?
Yeah, it was March 1st, yeah. And it wasn't that it was the first time we'd posted about it. I had made a bunch of reels that were hinting that way, that were speaking out, but it was the first time that we looked at the camera and just outwardly said it without saying it as a direct opposition, saying that it was something that we didn't even want to connect with, more along the lines of MAGA was anti-us. We weren't anti-MAGA. That you'd have to, if you watched the video, that to hate something, you'd have to respect something. And that was the first time, was March 1st, that we just put it cleanly out there, I think, as a couple, as a business, in a more commercial style, an advertisement style.
So is that the post that went viral first?
It isn't. It was the one, according to our count, a smaller one went viral, and then that one, the little bigger account, was the major viral one, yeah.
Okay, and that's the one that changed everything, and we're going to unpack that in a bit and deep dive into that post and how you have continued to create consistent content that is having a huge impact on your business, and just high level what has happened to your sales.
Yeah. I'm excited.
So let's get into actually your founding story and how you started My Cluck Hut.
Sure. Yeah. Cluck Hut really started, there was this pandemic in 2020, if you heard of it. And my wife is the director of science and STEAM for Metro Nashville Public Schools. And we had started kind of watching for this thing and staying home. And when the schools were told to go home, she was charged with reinventing science education in real time. And as an escape from virtual meetings, she needed something to do. She tried a few things. Paint by numbers was one of them. And I've never actually seen someone fail at paint by numbers, and that it just wasn't her bag. So she decided to nerd out. I mean, she's the PhD in the family. She's the reason I'm a doctor by marriage. She has a PhD, she's a chemistry background. So she started using the time between meetings to create the perfect eco-friendly soap formula. I had been retired from touring for a couple of years. I had a little different hyper-focus. Mine was mostly alcoholism in the above-ground pool. We had just gotten chickens pre-pandemic, and bad chicken jokes, low-key depression, that everyone's terrible. By the way, it was white wine out of the box because, again, there was this pandemic happening. And so I kept seeing everything just get worse and worse, and I had to watch this clown show every day try to give us updates on a pandemic. And it really just came down to the point where I looked at my wife one day and I just said, it's either blow my brains out or change the world. These are the two options. I'm just over it. I hate everyone here. And this is also the alcohol speaking, which is also depressant. And she looked at me and she just said, well, change it. So she was making this amazing soap formula. And I realized that as a white man in America, I have a seat at a table a lot of people don't. I have a voice a lot of people don't. I don't believe that the future is male. I really don't. I think the patriarchy's had its time. I feel like if I can Trojan horse this thing, great. I think, I don't care about money or power. So it's one of those places where it's like, I guess I'm the one that has to go get it, because we can change the world, but we have to balance environmental, human, and financial capitalism. And so this really started because everyone needed a laugh. Hence why our masculine line, even though it has the pronouns he, she, they on it, is our cock line, because roosters. We had to have a laugh at the same time that we're crying. And so we wanted to start something, especially, this is where my heart was, I wanted to start a business that was the change in the world that we were looking for. Instead of bitching about it on Facebook, let's create it.
Yeah. Take me from that point where you felt, I have to fight or I can't live here. I can't be here. I need to do something, and how that turned into soap.
It didn't. I mean, it honestly didn't. Soap is the vehicle. It's just the vehicle for what we wanted to do. We wanted to build a company that prioritized people, that prioritized the environment, that was diverse, that was eco-friendly. And soap was just what was in front of me. It's the same reason the company is named My Cluck Hut. It's because chickens are what were in front of me, and it's my fuck hut, but it's chickens. It's funny. But that's how it started. It's just you're inspired by your surroundings.
Yeah.
And it became the vehicle to make effective change.
And let's talk about it's more than soap. It's a bath and body line. And I have put my order in, by the way. I'm really excited to get my stuff. But it's more than a bar of soap. It's eco-friendly. Tell us about that, the science behind it as well, and why it's so special.
Absolutely. Yeah. The soap formula itself, what's so cool about it is it's most soaps that you use out there, soaps are actually detergent. Unless they go through saponification, cold process soap making, they're not a soap, because soap is actually a salt. And the problem with detergents and poorly made soaps is the pH balance is off. So it pulls moisture from your skin, it dries you out. So no soap actually moisturizes. None do. If they tell you it does, they're lying. It actually shouldn't pull moisture from your skin. Therefore, your skin can actually provide the natural oils and moisture that it does create.
Especially a commodified product, I would think like soap is one of those staples, right? That you would think that people wouldn't see special. Remember the story of coolers and Yeti, right? Where it's you take something conventional and make it unconventional.
What's crazy, some of the newer products we've come out with, some of the ones I've created since I've really gotten into that side of it, it's mind-boggling what can be done and hasn't been done. Some of the stuff that we've created, it's like, why is this not out there? Why is this, like some of the sensory-friendly products, like our elbow grease that I created, I spent 8 months banging my head against the wall creating a moisturizer from the ground up that's sensory-friendly, greaseless, scent-free. You can't tell people, like, this is amazing, like, sure. And then they try it, they're like, wait, what is this? And it's really cool, and it's all natural, and it's plant-based. It's doable. You just, I guess, have to be autistic and ADD. I don't know. It just...
And you have to care, you have to actually care about the planet and your environment and the people and the humans around you. So
before the money. That's right.
Right, exactly. So now let's get into this, let's say the first viral post, but if you want to tell us about how the two together, does that make sense that you had one that did pretty well and then another one that just whoosh? And tell us about, let's back into the beginning of that. And again, for everyone listening, if you go to My Cluck Hut on Instagram, you can watch all of these beautiful posts that you and Jennifer had been posting for years since you started the company in favor of LGBT rights, and you've been out there. However, I didn't see one that was blatantly like straightforward, we are anti, or MAGA is anti-us. Tell us about that decision-making process to post that original post and how you felt.
Yeah, I made a reel before the election and then one on voting day that kind of alluded to it. One about voting to erase an orange stain, which is I spilled some turmeric. And, so I was starting to like test the waters of like speaking up, because one of the things I heard a lot from, especially from MAGA, was they love to say, when Trump's president, you'll fall in line, which is a very, very clear thing to say. I've heard that in history before. It's a very authoritarian way to speak. And so when this term started for the current president, I knew that there was one thing I never wanted to do. I never wanted to be in the middle. This business wasn't started to be just stagnant in the middle. I really wanted to make sure that the people that love us, that we love, are safe around us, that they know this company's a safe place. And it just turns out that by speaking out against the current administration, that removes all the dickheads that are just mean to them, really. And I was like, you know what? At the end of the day, I don't want bullies hanging around. I don't condone bullying. I oppose it wholeheartedly. And so I tested a few of just like me talking to myself, me and myself, just to get my thoughts out there. But Jennifer's such a powerhouse of being a 50-year-old, strong, intelligent, brave, awesome woman. She's the badass here. And I wanted to bring her forward with the reel that I really felt that stood out there. And I wanted to pose our standpoint as it's not hate. We get projected on that we must hate MAGA all the time because they hate us. We get called libtards and cucks and all these things. And so we must hate them, but we don't. We'd have to respect someone to hate them. And I wanted to make that point, that we don't respect anybody who does any of the things Trump does. He's not special. It's not like he's this man in a horse. We're like, oh my God, that guy's work. No, nobody like that. And so putting that one out, it went insane. I don't know if you want me to go into how insane it went, but
Yes.
yes. Okay. So that reel started going crazy. That we put it up about 5 p.m. at night. The next day we had 2 events, one partner at one, Jennifer and I had another event, and it went, all of a sudden it just started, our phone started blowing up. So it went up to, it was about 50,000 likes at that point, maybe 350,000 views, and our Shopify app started going off. And we were getting a sale every 10 seconds for about 4 hours in there, to the point where we had to look at each other and go, okay, if our app says we can't sell something at this event, we have to look at a customer and say, I know this is in my hand, but I cannot sell you this because we are sold out, because I hadn't separated locations yet to have a market in location and online. So it was wild. And that first day, and this is not to brag, this is something that blew my mind too. We had a $43,000 day, and it was people that showed up because everyone's looking for businesses that will just stand up, just say, this is bullshit, we're not doing this. And too many people are afraid to, and even the big businesses are too afraid. And I think the second that we let fear become our guiding light is the second we let freedom, democracy fall. So the first reel was inspiring, and I think it's at 178,000 likes now. It's like 1.7 million views. The very next one we did, I called out some of the comments because the comments were very interesting. They were, I can't wait to watch you go bankrupt. I can't wait to watch you fail. A lot of pedophilia talk, which...
Really?
Oh, they bring up pedophilia a lot.
Yeah, they do.
It's odd. They're very obsessed with other people's genitals and pedophilia. I made a reel about that as well. The next one, I just used some of their comments at the bottom, and my thought process was, it's interesting that they know that we'll go bankrupt, they know that we'll fail, because the only 2 ways that happens is that half of the population, which it's way, way less than half that supports MAGA, but in their terms, a way to alienate half your customers. If half of the population that supports our view and supports opposing this current president, the only way we go bankrupt is all of a sudden they decide that they like him. They're like, you know what, he's a pretty good guy. Or they aren't in the market anymore. They aren't in the economy. That's the scariest part, is to think, okay, those are the 2 options. Are you saying they will be removed from the economy? Because the other one's not going to happen. And so I wanted to point out that this is where their head's at. And the second reel we put out, I called them, I said, and we don't have time for whiny little bitches. I just said it.
Those are fighting words. Those are some big words.
I've never had time for whiny little bitches. And they just came in our comments and whined. And I'm like, no. And we have to stop giving these people, and this is where I'm not even angry. It's the bully in high school. Bullies always want your energy. That's how they feed. And they feed they say it out loud. I want your tears, your liberal tears.
They do say that.
Right.
Yes.
That's projecting that they need your energy. What if we don't feed them? Take it away. Clown show them. Make sure people know, like bullies, we don't take them seriously. We don't respect them. And I think that is the mindset that changes this irrational fear we have of people that are just loud.
2 questions. On the sales side, 42,000. Put that in perspective for our listeners of what your average Saturday would have been.
So 43,000 was the end of the day. Our average Saturday, if we have an event, we're probably talking about anywhere from 2,000 to maybe 4,000, depending on the event.
Right. So just a staggering difference. And this the sales have continued.
Correct.
Since this.
We went from a December that was about 40,000, but our average month being about 20 to 25,000. And that's with no marketing, no advertising, marketing, but no advertising, paid advertising. And then so far this month, and again, this is just to inspire, not to brag, this has blown my mind too. We're at 150,000 on the month. Now, when I say that, remember that we were a business that we had I had built it with processes and standard operating procedures and stuff in place for this scale. I didn't know it was going to scale like this that fast, but it could have wrecked many businesses. It really put us on our heels, and we were quasi-prepared.
Because of the infrastructure, you mean, not because of the message,
correct.
Because the demand, the demand was so intense. And it's important to note too that you're based in Nashville, which,
correct.
You're in Tennessee, you're in a state that voted far for Trump. And also it's interesting the perspective that we all have as business owners and just citizens of this country right now, and Trump, of course, it's a delusion that he had an overwhelming majority. Only about 30% of Americans actually cast a vote for him. Correct. So that's really, really important for all of us to remember.
Yeah, and they don't want you to know that. They don't. That's why they're loud.
Yeah.
Well, I have one question about
Absolutely.
the tone, which I think is so fascinating, especially in this world we're in right now, where you want to get the tone right. And you said, and this is the first time I've ever heard it, you want to create a safe space for people so they don't get bullied, they don't get attacked. Versus the way it's, I think, pictured a lot of times, it's an aggressive position, but it's not really. It's just like, look, we're just reasonable people here trying to sell soap and get along, and you guys are nuts. I mean, that's how it reads to me. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I feel like at the end of the day, I want to protect, I always want to protect people. And no matter when bullies come after someone, I want to make sure that our home, our business is bigger than just being a business. It's a community. It's a clubhouse, if you will. And I honestly just don't want customers that we wouldn't want to hang out with. I don't want customers that would harm anybody around us. And at the end of the day, the tone is, they tell us that we're going to lose half of our customer base while simultaneously promoting another company that they use. And it's interesting. One of the examples is Dr. Squatch. They always say, well, I'll stick to my Dr. Squatch. And I'm like, ironically, they don't see the fact that Dr. Squatch made an entire marketing campaign. Their entire brand is aimed at men. Just men, not women, men. But yet somehow when we say we prefer people that are kind, accepting, loving, not in so many words, we don't really want MAGA. All of a sudden, we're doing something crazy, unheard of. No, we're finding our people, just like any other business would. We're finding our demographic.
So let's get into how you create this content, the process that you go about. So now here we are at the end of March. Your sales are continuing. You're continuing to post frequently, and you've faced that fear and realized that, hey, it's working. There's a heck of a lot of people who want to be a part of this. How do you create the content? What's your process?
I want to point out that there wasn't fear. The only reservation I had was, I like to think of everything in 10,000 foot view. That's how I think. I'm always thinking far ahead. It was, how does this content, how does putting something out like this affect the people around us, the people in the business, the company itself? Secondly, I like to rip on MAGA because they need to be brought down a peg. But I also don't want to give them all of our time. They're not worth it. Bullies aren't worth our time. So I think moving forward, as like we're doing new content, yeah, there is some stuff that we're going to call out just because it's basic human decency issues, not because it's political. And creating the content creation, really, a lot of times it's, 3 a.m, I'll wake up and I'll have this idea and I'll just start typing it out. But really it's because I have this internal dialogue constantly. It's par for the course with ADD. And that internal dialogue is always bickering. And if I have an idea, if I have a thought, I always have the other side of the argument. That's why I've never needed opposition in my life, because I have it. I'm always, it's there. I can argue my own points. I can argue back and forth. And I used to make a lot of the videos, and I'll make more of them, that are just me talking to myself, because it is my internal dialogue. That's me working through it. It's kind of my therapy, is a verbal processor. And as a verbal processor, I really need to put it out there. And I can watch the video back and be like, that I can see my process. I can see the conversation in real time. And so when I write these and all the content, as we move forward, it is a little difficult. I think the fear is more, once something goes off, is, will they like the next thing I put out? Do we have to continue to be what they expect because they liked this? But I think that fear is a bit irrational, because what we put out is just us. Organically, authentically, is who I am. I didn't put anything out that was like, mwahaha, let's see how this marketing campaign goes. It was just, this is who we are. So I had to stop that fear. And I think a lot of people are going to get into that fear if they have something like this happen, is that, oh no, well, what I put out next is going to be good enough. And that has to stop. I fight it too. It's just, what is it that's going through my heart, my mind right now? I'm going to put it out there. The worst thing that can possibly happen is we lose some followers. The best thing that can possibly happen is we lose some followers. They weren't our followers.
Yeah.
It's
Tell
okay.
us about how many did you lose when you posted this?
Oh, well, the one that had gone to about 34,000 likes before that, that was the me versus me, where I said, I guess we're going to come out. We've got to tell somebody we're going to lose a lot of customers. I did a back and forth, and that one was the one that lost us our first round. We lost 243.
And how many did you gain?
Currently 75,000.
Ah,
ROI, by the
That
way,
was
on that
pretty good.
is solid. The ROI on that is solid if you're looking from a business.
so did that happen concurrently? Did you like lose and gain at the same time, or was there a delay? What was the process?
There was that chunk at the beginning, and then that was the one where we came out and just I said it like, "It's who we are," and I think that was the one that just because we've always been the same. The thing is, we've never the ones that we might have gained that did not agree were ones that we'd met at farmers markets or festivals that tapped our dot card and followed us. They didn't know or they didn't see enough of our content because even if you follow a company, you don't see everything they put out. So I think that was the one that just stuck it to the wall. And so after that, it has been maybe one or two here and there, but nothing. And that's the beauty, I think, of building your business on a foundation of rock, on something that is solid, consistent, is that you're going to find loyal, caring, badass customers that are your people.
And you have a national audience. So
International,
you
apparently.
have, yes.
Apparently.
And the other thing too, speaking to, now this is my content strategist brain because I've been doing this for 20 years now and was there at the beginning of all of the social content creation, that the fear of, do I have to stay in this bucket and continue to post this exact same thing? I think my prediction is, as we all know, this is only going to get worse. The Trump administration is only going to get worse. And the things that are happening, the videos that we're all going to be witnessing. Yesterday, a Tufts University student was yanked off the street by plainclothes officers. I mean, so businesses who are hiding from this right now, there is going to be a point where it will be so egregious and so uncomfortable that they aren't saying something to their customers, especially, again, these small businesses who make up the fabric of our communities. So I think the content, I'm curious if you've thought about that, like the moment when there will be, unfortunately, I think very many of these moments where the news cycle will present some horrific, egregious violation of democracy. Are you going to be current and keep up with these things and keep calling them out? Do you have a plan?
Yeah, absolutely. I am always going to follow my heart on that. But the way that I approach it, I don't know if you saw one of the reels I did where we were hiring a new soap maker and I was going to fire the current one. And it was back when he fired all the air flight controllers or that was the FFA. FAA. Anyways, and brought in people that weren't as capable. And I made a reel and it was basically about, do I hire this guy, Chad, this character, Chad, who wears a MAGA hat, or do I hire the person who is capable of doing the job and firing them to hire Chad because he's loyal to me? And so the approach I took on it was making it look as ridiculous as it is. And I think that's always been, I know that's always been the approach of our company from our cock line on down, is remembering that we have to laugh because what are our other options? Scream and cry. So if I can't use sarcasm, I can't use humor to approach these things, I don't want to be here. This company started because of a very real moment in time where it was either blow my brains out or change the world. That gives you very little room for maneuverability. One ceases to exist, one does something. And I think that's maintained as my modus operandi for this business, is that we will do something, because to not do something is death. So we will speak up. We're going to use, I will always use my, my sense of humor, my dry wit, my approach to not viewing them in this light of they are this great thing to be feared, but rather this tiny thing to be mocked. And, I don't like mocking people, but don't be dicks. Don't be mean to people. Don't be hateful. And don't try to destroy my country. And that's what I feel like, I'm watching that happen. So no, I think at the end of the day, the content will remain inspired by, and above. You'll notice in my content, I never attack. I never directly attack. I keep by Michelle Obama's when they go low, we go high, but I have just thrown in a little seasoning of sarcastic asshole, where when they go low, we go high and we clown them.
If you're in need of some killer branding and marketing, check out our agency, Good Now, where we're dedicated to purpose-driven brands like yours.
From brand architecture to websites and executive personal brand training, if your brand is ready to take on the world, but not quite ready to face the world, we're here for you.
Visit goodisnow.com for more.
I mean, one of the things that was really notable to me was the fact that you got that sense of humor right, which is something the progressive movement in general has really struggled with, right? It's the very glower and doom-driven attitude that is typically portrayed. And having something like this, which is fresh and lighthearted and is really, like you said, just showing how ridiculous things are, is so obvious and so clear. Did you go to like school for that? Did you take improv classes? Are you like a stand-up comedian? Where did you learn all this?
Again, ADHD, but I was diagnosed ADHD first and autistic later. It in itself is a blessing and a curse. I'm a college dropout. I went to 1 year of school, maybe 1.5, but I didn't really go to classes the second one. I got really frustrated with college because I realized it was a lot of the same idiots I went to high school with, but now I'm paying for it to be with them. And I say that because I can do the reading once. If we have to go over that same information 2 days in a row, my ADHD's checked out. So I didn't. I was in music, but I just finally let the inside voices be outside voices. That's really what happened, is these voices have been talking and giving me this show for years. And I finally found a platform with our business, created a platform to just let the inside voices be out. I don't have any business experience per se, other than being a 1099 drummer, musician, but that was running my own business. It was running me. But when it comes down to running business, it makes sense. It makes sense in my head. And I think about things. Other people call it overthinking. I call it thinking about everything. And I think about every variable. I think about every strategic move, and where it's something with my team I've had to be very clear about. Like, when you give me an idea and you see me just kind of freeze for a second, it's not because your idea is bad. Just I'll let you know that. Give me every idea. I might say something stupid that inspires your brilliance, and you might say something stupid that inspires my brilliance. But at the end of the day, it's because immediately I'm thinking through every single variable that is caused by and would need to happen to create that idea, to make that happen. And so I've always had this going on, but I also came up in a system where ADHD wasn't quite understood enough. And so it was, take these meds, shut up, pay attention. And this internal dialogue, this constant diatribe was shunned. It was even not as much as it was in women. Women with ADHD even more so. And then, kids, boys will be boys, but still, I just allowed it to be. And at the end of the day, I think authenticity is something that if we don't strive for it, we are bound to fall for whatever influences us that's around us. And I want to inspire. I want people to see authenticity. I want them to see that their best self is their authentic self. And it's one of those things I remind my team all the time, because, it is hard as an empathetic person, as someone who experiences love and experiences acceptance, experiences protection, wanting to protect those who are vulnerable, that this time in history is hard to watch. But I remind my team all the time that you always hear love wins in the end. But I remind them that love wins in the end. And if love hasn't won, it's not the end. And that's what keeps us fighting forward, because it will win. Better angels always prevail. We're just currently not, a lot of people aren't seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And I hope that through our content, through our ideology, through who I am, through our partners in our business are, that we can put out a call to arms. That's why we say welcome to the revolution. The welcome to the revolution is about being part, and that's why love is in the middle of it. It's to remind us, when you look in the mirror, this says love. It reflects love. That's what you see. Everyone else reads revolt. And it's our constant reminder that this revolt is based in loving each other. Hate is a very strong motivator, but love creates a stronger foundation. Love creates a longer lasting impact. Hate can be driven with the wind. The ocean tides carry it wherever they want. And you watched it with MAGA. What are you mad at today? Oh, they're eating animals. Well, they're not, but I'm mad about it. What are you mad at today? They have to keep them mad. That's how right-wing pundits have made all their money. Keep them upset. Keep them guessing.
They need an enemy too.
If you don't have self-worth, you need someone beneath you.
And they need to be scared too. They need them fearful.
Yep.
And your hat, just for the listeners, it says revolt, and it is the R and the T are in white, and love is in red in the center. And you can find this hat at Trevor's shop if you want to grab one. They're beautiful.
So I was curious, is that My Cluck Hut specifically? Or is that part of a bigger kind of movement?
It's Cluck Hut.
That's cool.
Yeah, we have the t-shirts that say welcome to the revolution with love in it as well. Revolt stickers. Honestly, I hate hawking merch. It's not about that. The reason we put these items out and we design these items, I want people, if they see someone wearing Cluck Hut, they know they're a safe person. I want people to know, if you see this, that's a person you can go to. I had an experience at a farmer's market last year where this woman, she walked up, she saw my shirt. I think it was Nashville is love, or Nashville, I forget exactly what it said, but Nashville is love or something like that. And she said, hey, oh, okay. And she saw my watch band, saw it was a rainbow, and she goes, oh, thank goodness. Do you think it's okay? And this is out in Nolensville, which is a little out of Nashville, out in the sticks a little bit. And she goes, do you think it's okay if I hold hands with my wife? I go, motherfucker, you better hold hands with your wife. And anyone says anything, you fucking come get me. Like, no. That pissed me off. That made me, I almost cried, like anger tears that she felt that way. And I want people to know when they see anyone wearing this, that they are a person that has their back.
Whoever they are.
If they can have their MAGA hat, fine, have your MAGA hat. That lets us know who not to hang out with. I want to know who I do want to hang out with. I want to know who I can look to and say, hey, you got my 6?
You know, this is something that is really troubling and has been troubling me now from the beginning of this, from 2016 on, is I would like to know who you are. Show yourself to the MAGA supporters. And it is so uncomfortable to me that they continue to walk around without identifying themselves. And occasionally you see someone wearing the hat, and depending on where they are, they'll choose to wear it or not. But the opposite of that is us wearing something or marking something on ourselves. So I love this concept so much. It shows, I just love the idea that people can feel safe when they see whatever we are wearing. So, and also for the people listening, Trevor is you're like a 6'4" tall dude. You're definitely 6'6". I mean, you're a big white male. You're there and you're countering that stereotype, and you have that protective like personality and physique, just to point that out.
Side note, last night there was this gathering at this little park in East Nashville. On the side of the road, there was a stop sign, and it was maybe about 45, 50 of us, and just holding up signs like honk for democracy, just to get out there and just show some love. And this guy comes raging out of his house, and pretty big dude. And he comes down calling us F-tards and all this awful whatever. And I step right out of this crowd and just step up, and he just goes like right up at me. And I had hands on my pocket, but I was just like, what's up? And it's unfortunate. I think that's where my head goes, is that I know that those same people will talk shit to my wife. They will talk shit to our LGBTQ family. They won't talk shit to me.
Yeah. Same camp. I'm 6'3" and bald and white. So
I got the bald going
it's
too.
It's interesting, different world experience for us.
Yeah. So we have to be the ones that stand up. We have to put ourselves in front of the line. And I just chose to do it through a business. That's all.
So let's segue into the business owners, and we're speaking particularly to founders and business owners, but I also want to keep in mind employees of corporations, but let's focus at this moment on business owners and founders who have the most liberty and freedom right now to say and what they need to say and find that authentic voice right now, because now is the moment, and we're only going to lose more and more freedoms and liberties. And yeah, sure, it's scary, but by remaining silent, what is going to happen? Do you expect, so the common fears are, if I post this, I'm going to lose customers, right? That's a huge one. If I post this, maybe they're going to come and get me, depending on who you are. And also that's not really out of the realm of reality right now for me. I think about the show that we're launching, and I think I ran for Congress in 2020. They've got my name. They know I'm on a list. So there's that fear. And maybe there's fear of interpersonal relationships, if they have family members, whatever. But what happens if we don't say anything? What happens if we are most of us collectively silent? We will lose the country we love. We will lose the businesses anyway. We will lose our economy. We will lose the vibrancy and diversity of our communities. At this point, right now, we have been going through this since 2016. It's a time to say something, but so many businesses are still being quiet. So our goal here is to inspire them and give them that courage. If someone is listening and they're on the fence, what would you say to them, Trevor?
Look at the history of America. Look at every fight we've had from the beginning. The most American thing you can do is speak up against any power that wants to take equality away or segregate or harm your fellow citizens. America was built on sacrifice from the beginning. No matter what part of history you look at, it wasn't perfect. America was horrifyingly bad. We did horrifying stuff. But if you look at the better angels throughout history, you look at the people who stood up and said, no, this is not okay. That's where movement started. That's where change started. And I don't think that we want to look at ourselves as businesses. You get to make a choice at any point in your life, every day in your life, every second. You get to choose where you stand. And I think that we start worrying too much about this very small bubble, which is self. And the second we start focusing on self, we lose sight of community. We lose sight of the greater good and what can come of actually taking action. And to me, personally, everyone has to make their choice here. But for me, I, again, want to bring it back to the either blow my brains out or change the world. Those are very real fucking things that happened. And in that moment, I realized that it does not matter what happens. I will never stand on the wrong side of history. I will never stand on the side of history where someone is harmed, where somebody feels dejected, put out, demeaned, minimized. And as a business is just people. We're not anything special. We start a thing that is made up of people. I'm going to always protect my people in my business. I'm always going to protect anyone that is surrounding my business. Therefore, when I speak up, I look at the heroes throughout history. I look at the people throughout history, the Hamiltons, these people that, might not have done everything right, the Abraham Lincolns, but they did things right. They moved us in a direction. And then I always remember that there was a time in Germany in the 30s where there were people that stayed quiet. And there were people that I don't know how their life ended. I don't know how they felt about that on their dying bed, that they didn't say anything, that he didn't oppose it. I'm not willing to find out.
It's interesting because I grew up in Germany. I have German grandparents that were in that time, and they didn't say anything. And they did do, and I never had a conversation with them about it, but it was a real thing that happened with real people, and people stuck their head in the sand, and that didn't turn out so well.
I know that I would feel regret. I couldn't live with myself, and that would be the rest of my life. I would rather die fighting than live with something that I know I failed, where I know I just wasn't who I could have been. And at what point do you stop adventuring? Do you stop journeying? Do you stop taking on challenges? It's the second you stop believing that you can. And I'm just not willing to stop believing that I can. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to say it. And the takeaway from this is every time that you take on a new fight, every time that you take on something new, it's a reminder that the next one you look back and that one's so minimized in comparison that the next fight is easier to take on. And not always easier. It's still going to be hard. But in comparison, it's giving you that stepping stone to take it on. And I think if the immediate original baseline fight is what's right and what's just and what's good, you can take on any fight, because that baseline moral concept, it doesn't matter what the fight is, that will always present itself. Those feelings, those, internal ideology will always be a baseline foundation for choosing the right side. And you can never be wrong speaking up for what's right.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's great.
Absolutely, yeah.
You too, guys.
Absolutely inspiring. You're an inspiration to everybody who's fortunate enough to stumble across this podcast. And there will be more, as this is just our first episode. But I think I just wish you the best in all of this. And I want to check back in with you in like 3 to 4 months. Maybe we can have another interview and see how things are going. But Keep it up, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Yeah. You got to fight for what you believe in.
Yep, every day. I appreciate you guys. And congratulations on the podcast. This is awesome. Thank you.
So much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Citizen Rebel. If you like this episode, subscribe to the show and share it with a friend.
To connect with us and find more content like this, visit goodisnow.com.